Chapter 1:
The Return.
The sun blazed over the golden sands of Al-Ma'arif, turning the palace domes into molten gold against the vast expanse of the desert sky. Yasmin Al-Zahra stepped out of the sleek black car and onto the marble steps of the royal palace, her heels clicking sharply against the polished stone. Her heart thudded beneath the tailored jacket she wore, its soft cream fabric a stark contrast to the fortress-like grandeur of the building before her. She lifted her chin, the weight of her purpose anchoring her nerves. The palace had not changed. The scent of jasmine wafted through the air, mingling with the earthy notes of the desert heat, just as it had on the night she had fled 8 years ago. That night, she had been a different woman, young, uncertain, and terrified. Today, she was here on her own terms, no longer a reluctant pawn in a game she had never agreed to play. As she ascended the steps, the grand doors swung open, revealing a man who seemed to absorb all the light in the room. Sheikh Asim Al-Rahman stood at the top of the stairs, a living embodiment of power and control. He was dressed in a flowing white kandura, its immaculate fabric emphasizing his broad shoulders and commanding presence. His dark eyes, intense, piercing, locked onto hers with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. "Yasmin," he said, his voice low and resonant, carrying both surprise and something else she didn't want to name. She forced herself to meet his gaze, ignoring the familiar flutter his presence stirred in her chest. "Your Highness," she replied coolly, keeping her tone even. She would not let him see her falter, not today. "You're the last person I expected to see," he continued, descending the stairs with the controlled grace of a predator. He stopped a few steps above her, his height towering over hers even from a distance. "Why are you here?" Yasmin clasped her hands tightly in front of her, the subtle tremor in her fingers hidden by the composure she had perfected over years of public speaking. "I'm here to talk about the reforms you promised to implement. The world is watching, Sheikh Asim. They're waiting to see if Al-Ma'arif will join the modern age or remain shackled to the past." His eyes narrowed, the weight of her words hitting their mark. "You came all this way to challenge me in my own palace?" Her lips curved into a faint smile, though there was no humor in it. "I've always been bold, Asim. You used to admire that." The air between them grew taut, a charged silence stretching across the expanse of years and unresolved emotions. She saw the flicker of something in his eyes, regret, maybe, or the ghost of what had once been between them, but she couldn't afford to dwell on the past, not when the stakes were so high. "I didn't come to dredge up old wounds," she said, stepping closer. "I came because I believe change is possible, and I believe you're capable of making it happen. But if you can't, if you won't, I'll ensure the world knows exactly what's happening behind these walls." Asim's jaw tightened, his broad shoulders stiffening under her words. "You've grown even more fearless, I see," he said, his voice laced with a mixture of admiration and frustration. "But you underestimate me if you think I don't know how to protect my kingdom and its secrets." She tipped her head, her smile fading. "Then let's hope we're not on opposite sides of this fight, Your Highness, because I didn't come alone this time." With that, she turned, her heels clicking against the marble as she walked past him into the palace. The cool air of the vast hallway wrapped around her, soothing the heat that had risen to her cheeks during their exchange. Her pulse thrummed in her ears, but she refused to look back. Behind her, Asim remained rooted on the steps, his hands clenched at his sides. He watched her retreating form with an ache he didn't fully understand, a mix of anger, longing, and the sharp sting of a memory he had tried for years to bury. She was back, and this time Yasmin wasn't the woman who had once sought his approval. This time, she was his equal,